Okay, you gotta love AC/DC. They have a knack for titles that just grab you by the collar. And Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be is an absolute all-timer. We're gonna break down this rock classic, and trust me, there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye.
I mean, what a line. It's one of rock's most provocative titles, right? An anthem of pure defiance that's been screamed from stages for decades. But behind that raw, three-chord power, what are they really getting at with a title like that?
Are they literally saying that eternal damnation isn't so bad after all? Is this some kind of genuine argument about the afterlife with fire and brimstone and all that?
Well, not exactly. The answer is actually way more clever. It lies in this really powerful artistic trick, a way of taking a word that's loaded with negative meaning and just completely flipping it on its head.
And this is the key that unlocks the whole thing. The word for it is Umwertung, which is German for reevaluation. They're not talking about a theological destination. Here, hell becomes a code word, right? A metaphor for a life experience that's intense, risky, and erotically charged. It's destructive, sure, but it's also incredibly alive. And what's so interesting is how the music itself sells this whole idea. It doesn't just tell you about this reimagined hell, it makes you feel it in your bones. The song is like a musical vortex. You've got that signature Angus Young riff. It's gritty, it's dirty. Then there's the groove, so infectious it just physically pulls you in. And the whole thing is built on this simple but just brutally effective structure. You wrap it all up in that raw, almost sweaty production from the Let There Be Rock album, and what you get is this dangerous, exciting world that sucks you in before Bon Scott even sings a single word. Of course, it's not just an idea, it's a story. And that story is delivered through the human element at the very heart of the song, a very, very specific kind of narrator. Bon Scott's performance here is just a masterclass in duality. On the one hand, you have what's called prelorei, the bragging, the swagger of a rock frontman at the absolute peak of his game. But if you listen a little closer, you can hear the Selbstironie, the self-irony. He's a guy who is completely in on the joke, totally aware of how absurd his own macho posturing is. So what does this mean? It means our narrator isn't some all-powerful hero. No way. He's actually admitting that he got pulled into a situation he couldn't handle, and he completely lost control. But instead of sounding like a victim, he uses his wit and that swagger to style it out, turning his own downfall into one hell of a story. And you can hear this tension perfectly when you dive into the lyrics, which is where the pleasure and the pain get all tangled up. I mean, the story is about a relationship that is magnetic and damaging, all at the same time. It's irresistible, but it's also destructive. And the real genius of the lyrics is that they absolutely refuse to separate those two feelings. It's not pleasure, then pain. It's both, all at once, mixed together. So what are we supposed to make of this? Is it a celebration of living on the edge, or is it a cautionary tale? Well, the song's real power comes from the fact that it never tells you. It lives in that murky, thrilling space where you honestly can't tell the difference between a boast and a cry for help. And it's that complexity, all packed into such a simple format, that explains how a 45-year-old album track became this enduring cultural icon. Think about it. This was never some massive radio single, but look at its journey. It starts with its raw origins back in '77, then becomes a staple of their live shows, immortalized on legendary concert albums decades apart, and then it gets a whole new life for a new generation on the Iron Man 2 soundtrack. It was just built for the stage. Because when you're on stage in an arena with, say, 70,000 people, that title isn't just a lyric anymore, is it? It becomes a shared chant. It's a collective ritual. The audience isn't just listening to a song, they are participating in its core idea, a communal embrace of life at its most intense and chaotic. So in the end, what is Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be? The genius of the song is that it's all of those things at once. Yeah, it's a pose, it's a confession, and it's pure, unfiltered rock and roll. It's this perfect explosion of energy and ambiguity that just refuses to give you an easy answer. And maybe that's the whole point. It's rock and roll. Who needs an easy answer?